Yeah.
Thank you very much, Agent Busby.
Good job, Agent Busby.
Oh, well, thank you guys. To speak to the Cheeseheads real quick, it was hard to not include Jimmy Graham. After all, he did have 636 yards, which is better than most people thought.
We expected for him not to be on there.
Well, only 2 touchdowns last year, so you're hoping that number goes up and to be a real value.
He has to do better if he's on this team. He just has to do better to be on this team. We need production if Jimmy Graham is on the team, period. So we are hoping and praying, Dylan.
I don't blame you at all. 2 touchdowns ain't going to do it for a guy like Jimmy Graham.
That only makes one of us.
That being said, guys, we are on a schedule, and we do need to get to our guest because we have Mr. Zachary Jacobs, of Cheesehead TV, the writer and podcaster. Jacobson, yes. So we're going to take our little break. We're going to say goodbye to Agent Busby, and we'll be right back with Mr. Jacobson. Here we go,
guys.
Go
back in your cage, Busby.
Later, first goalies, later, fantasy world. Love you.
Good night.
Nothing to show, just climbing this rope right here. And if there's a man upstairs, he kept bringing me rain. But I've been sending up prayers and something's changed. I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now.
Now, and we are now joined by the Zachary Jacobson of Cheesehead TV. Warm welcome. Nice of you to join us. Thank you, Zach.
No, pleasure's all mine, guys. Thank you for having me on.
We are honored to have you on.
Right away, we're not going to waste time. We're not going to waste time, Zach. We give all of our first-time guests what we like to call brag time. And so that's your time. Tell everybody what you do, where you're about, where to find you. You know, I don't know, break yourself up, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a hug. It's your time, man. Shoot, Zach.
Oh, cool. Some brag time. All right. Well, you guys can find me at Cheesehead TV, and I also contribute on the Pack a Day podcast. Due to some time constraints, I'm no longer doing one episode every weekend, but now I'm an episode every other week with my buddy Matub, who is over at Acme Packing Company. But my primary line of covering the Packers runs through Cheesehead TV. During the season, I'm going to be pumping out stories every single day. Right now, we're kind of in that dead period, you know, and there's nothing really to talk about. We got to focus on really the supplemental draft that's coming up. So, you know, a lot of fun stuff right now in the heat of July. But yeah, and you guys can find me on Twitter as well at Zach A. Jacobson. That's Z-A-C-H, by the way, not Z-A-C-K. I gotta kind of get that out there, you know, that because there's a lot of confusion with my name. I've learned growing up, so I gotta make sure I clear that.
Zach H's matter.
I didn't know that we were now misspelling Zach in this new era. Zach was always C-H, I thought. I didn't.
No, my brother's name is with an H, so I'm spelling it right.
Yeah,
way to go.
That's what I'm saying, man. I didn't know this was
half
a thing,
and
man.
half. That counts. It's the unorthodox way of spelling it.
Well, I mean, I'm just ready to see some weird spelling nowadays with some of the names that have been changed. So I'm actually ready to see like a PH and a K somewhere in there.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get to it, man. I got to ask you. How you feel about the Adams situation? It seems to be he's getting a lot of flack across the league, but now other players who actually play in his own division, like Xavier Rhodes, are stepping up. How do you feel about that? What's going on with Adams?
Well, I think a lot of that kind of stemmed from that article over at The Athletic, which is basically talking about how he has great fantasy numbers, but those fantasy numbers don't correlate to real life production, which is totally not true because he had a career year last season. He was among some of the best names at his position in 2018, and I think it's just like, for example, Peter Bukowski over at Acme Packaging Company, he said it perfectly.
Great dude.
Tuesday morning. Yeah, great dude. He said it perfectly Tuesday morning. He's not one of those flashy guys. He's not one of those loud, in-your-face type of players. He goes out, he steps on the field, and he gets the job done. He'll give you a flex every now and then with his arms and his biceps, but, he doesn't make the rounds as far as the media goes. He's not loud about what he does. So, and also you take into consideration he plays in Green Bay, and playing in Green Bay means you have Aaron Rodgers throwing you the football. So when you have Aaron Rodgers throwing you the football, there's always going to be those people on the outside going, oh, well, my dead grandmother would put up 1,000 yards with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback.
But Zach, my problem is right away is I would agree with them. But there's the same exact numbers season in and season out when he played more games with Brett Hundley, who couldn't hit anybody else besides Davante Adams.
Double-digit touchdowns.
I want to see the other guys that they're saying that play with that same intensity. I've pointed out that Antonio Brown's numbers, when there's backup quarterbacks, drop and he disappears for games on end. And yet they win games with backup quarterbacks. They have numbers that they spread the ball around. That's the argument that I just don't understand the logic there, because we've seen a big sample size with subpar quarterback play, and yet the same numbers he was putting in seasons prior to that he put up that year. I don't get it, Zach.
Well, you make a great point with Brett Hundley. I mean, he had Hundley, who was struggling for the large part of the time he was starting for the Packers in 2017. Still managing to connect with Adams, and Adams still managing to find a vibe with Hundley. You saw, going back to even Adams' 2015 season, when you saw he was struggling through the ankle injury, everyone was really doubting him. They were calling for Jeff Janis to start ahead of him on the depth chart. And just look at the progression ever since. Ever since he came to the league in 2014, every single year he has gotten better, not statistically wise. Like, I'm talking about the tape. Like, when you put on the tape of Davante Adams and see what he does to these cornerbacks on a weekly basis, you see why guys like Xavier Rhodes say such great things about him. You see why guys like Stephon Gilmore say such great things about him. You see why Darius Slay, who constantly gets worked by Adams, and I'm not saying that just because we have the Packers affiliation.
It's just proof.
Yeah, it's proof, and Slay has said it himself. Like, he has praised Adams. All these corners praise Adams. So anybody who says otherwise, it's mind-boggling, because just seeing what he does on the field, it speaks for itself. Even in 2016, when he was 3 yards shy of a 1,000-yard season, and people will say, "Oh, well, he didn't put up 1,000 yards." I mean, are those 3 yards really like the discrepancy that you're going to base your receiver evaluations off of?
My counter argument, Zach, has always been when receivers' yardage at the end of games gets awarded extra points over touchdowns, then I'll start caring. Until then, I would rather him put up the double-digit touchdowns he was consistently putting up year in and year out, and failing to get to 1,000 yards, but still being in that 70 to 85 catch radius per season, then I need the extra 3 yards. Because the last time I checked, 150 yards doesn't get you an extra 2 points on the scoreboard at the end of the game. Another argument baffles me, Zach.
Yeah, that's usually kind of like the last leg people like to die on. That's why people were so crazy about Adam Thielen last season. He was putting up numbers. And you can't go off in numbers alone. Sure, you look at Adam and you look at his touchdowns especially. He's had 35 touchdowns since 2016, and that's only one person has more, and that's Antonio Brown. I think he has.
He has one more. Yeah, he has one more. I think.
Thought so. Yeah, so he's up there with some of the best. So you can use statistics to a point, but eventually you have to draw that line in the sand. You just have to turn on the tape and see what he does for yourself.
Well, my biggest argument is this. Back to 17, those 3 games with Hundley in Chicago, Cleveland, and Tampa Bay, we wouldn't have won those games if it wasn't for Adams. He literally put the team on his back in those games, and if it wasn't for that, we would have had another 3 losses on our record. That's how important he was to that team after Rodgers went down. It's like he became that leader, and it's rare to see a wide receiver to put Adams a leader over a quarterback, even if it's a backup, because it's like everyone knew, just give Tay the ball.
Oh yeah, 100%, and especially that Cleveland game too. Yeah, he had a one of them was the game winner. And I don't want to, I know it's unrelated, but they wouldn't have had that game winner if it wasn't for Trevor Davis's big return.
I knew you were going to mention TV.
I had to give him a little bit of praise, a little bit.
Here's a question for you: when you watch the tape of Adams, have you seen anybody else with his just get off, with his footwork? I've watched a lot of other guys. I just haven't seen anything quite that unique and complex as he uses it. He takes basketball moves, and as an MMA fighter, he does a lot of footwork that is just beautiful from my standpoint. Do you see that on tape a lot, or is that something unique that just pops out when you watch Adams alone?
No, yeah, it stands out. And even just the little subtle things he does, like hand placement. I know when you think of receivers getting off the line, you think it's all about their legs and their feet and everything. But when corners try to press him, it's like he goes to not hold their hand, but he matches palm for palm and swats it out of the way and manages to kind of get around them. It's those little subtleties that he just mastered in playing the wide receiver position that he does so well. I like to think if you combine Adams' release and Stephon Diggs' route running, not his release, but his route running, you would have the most complete receiver ever.
So with that, I gotta say, so Adams' footwork, I'm expecting to see some pirouettes out of ballet this year because of how smooth he's just getting. With Jay just said a little bit ago, it's like if he sees the corner come in and press, he'll go ahead and do this a palm shove off, like you said. But then next thing you know, it's like he already juked and he's out of his break, and he doesn't even have to do a double move on the route because of how far he is down the field, and the DB's already trailing him. It's just it's just watching pure what's the word for it? There's just there's no mistakes in it. That's how smooth he is.
Poetry, man. It's poetry.
If you go watch one of my favorite receivers of all time off the line, Tim Brown did the same thing for the Raiders. Tim Brown was smooth off the line. And it's just, if you go watch Adams, they play similar off the line. And I mean, I know Brown may have had a little bit more size, but still, it's just the fact of it's just that caliber of receiver.
Yeah, and you see, and it's those little things that just some people don't, really notice when they watch Devontae Adams. You can only, evaluate to a fault, like I said, with statistics. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, just going back to when he first came in the league and the struggles he went through, seeing him get to this point where we're talking about his flawless work off the line and all of the little, bells and whistles he does to get open and to just completely manhandle his guy off the line, I feel like that's something that's not really talked about that much. Everything that he's gone through and how much he's ascended since that 2015 season specifically, I just, someone's got to write a book on it.
Yes, Yes, it's like Rise from the Ashes because people wanted him to be cut